Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt, fix several years of financial misbehaviour, deal with a load of background noises all of a sudden just decided to kick in, thanks so much, and navigate a 6-week month, of which I think I've got about a week and a half left. We established that yesterday. This is Budgetmas 14, so it is video number 14. It was meant to be released on the 14th of this month, and it didn't for many reasons, and I'm now playing catch up. So you're going to have 2 videos today. I wanted to do a couple of informal discussion-based videos, the kind of thing where you stick a video on in the background while you do whatever task that you have that's not a music or a podcast, and it's just a general casual discussion. Think of it like I'm sat across from you and we're having a chat, or we're in a crafting circle, or we're sat around a coffee table, or the water cooler talk at work. And for me, this is also a really good opportunity to come away from the embeddedness of navigating that 6-week period, and there have been highs, but there have also been some real lows, and also it gives me a chance to just vary and try different types of content and over this Budgetmas period, particularly while I'm on that 2 video a day stint, which will probably happen tomorrow and possibly Friday as well, and then we'll even out over the course of the weekend. The video later on this afternoon is going to be quite a fun little one. I'll be revisiting my ideal savings pots, which I believe I did this time last year, and that's quite a fun little exercise to go through and do because it's entirely theoretical and it doesn't depend on anything. But I am in the process, you can probably hear the printer behind me, of going through and working through the trimming of the massive print job that I've been doing. For those of you that don't know, or you're new around here, when I got my printer, I got 3 months worth of ink completely free, dispatched to my door as and when I use it. And the value of the ink in terms of package is $25.99 a month for 3 months. And the printer itself cost me $79.99. So I paid very little for the printer. And for the amount of ink that gives me, it's 700 pages of printing, and I also have a rollover of 894 pages. So I've elected to use, for my very, very small baby budgeting business, to run off things like challenges, designs, budget packs, etc., while I've got that ink that I'm not paying for. But as part of that, I do therefore have a growing stack of about this wide of not laminating. I need to laminate them as well, but I need to replace my laminator. That will have to be done in the New Year's. But I can certainly start trimming down and getting everything ready to go. And therefore that gives me a really good opportunity to just walk and talk, I guess. Chalk and talk, as we call it in teaching. And also for you guys, if you watch this, you get a sneak peek of upcoming products like this one, which is part of my hobby range and line. You've also caught me as well trying and experimenting with, if I were to make laminated cash envelopes, how would I want to go about it and what layout would that be? And this is a while off, but I am in the process of planning, like, what does the next 3 months look like from a product perspective for Not Another Budget, and what could I offer? It's really hard to create original designs or original, I would say, products, because it is a very saturated market. And that's also something that, I will look at in the future in terms of where I host it and where I can develop it. To everyone as well who commented on yesterday's video about the fabric stash and stuff, it's something that, it really is, like I said, I am attached to it, and therefore that makes it really difficult to kind of contemplate parting with it, and also getting rid of it. And I would only get rid of it for money, would be such a huge job, but it could potentially make a huge difference. And that's something I really do need to take into account for the amount of stuff that I have. Someone said, Crumble Crafts, I think it was you, or Jerry or Paula, said, how much are we talking here? And it is 110 litre storage boxes. Think of it from like your local Wilkinsons as used to be, or your B&Ms or your hardware store, those clear storage boxes, and then 22 of them, plus random like bags of just everything. And I'm not even talking, and we've not even touched on the stuff that goes with it, like braiding, ribbon, trim, threads, because I have so many threads because there's so many variations of things. And one thing I do need to look at as well is the obviously making up of the things that have been cut, because in their current value they're completely useless. I would literally just be throwing money away, but to make them up and just get rid of them quickly, I would be selling them at a loss, which is not ideal, but something to bear in mind. That is a possibility, but certainly before the car boot season arrives, that fills that weekend. Car boot season in the UK, my UK viewers will know this, it is incredibly seasonal. You get the peak of them over the summer months from kind of like May to end of August, but some places do start them in April if the weather is good. And that's because we have the Easter holidays when schools are generally shut for a minimum of 2 weeks. Some schools shut longer as well. And some places, if they have an indoor like space to host, do go all year round, but you tend to attract less footfall. So certainly up to May, I think I can fill those weekends when I would have been potentially going to a car boot by going to... There might be a slight squeak like that, guys, but I'm going to try and make it fine by, constructing those items. The problem is my sewing room, which is my conservatory, because I'm hesitant to move the stuff up here because this room is a work in progress anyway. Stay tuned for a New Year's video on me cleaning and organising, because that's when those are going to be coming back, because I have that to do anyway. I don't really want to move those up here, and that conservatory has no heating and no insulation. It is literally just like glass built onto exposed outdoor brick, basically. So it's not ideal. What also happens is fabric, when you're selling it, is difficult to sell online where you get the most amount of money for it, and that is because people want to like feel it. They want to see if it's got natural products, or if they've got a wool allergy and it has wool content. Are they going to come up with an expected reaction that they're looking for? How does it work under certain light? Because again, that can have an issue. How does it drape and it fall? So selling fabric secondhand is not the easiest. You've got to really know your fabric content. For some of mine as well, I've had them for so long, I can't remember what the fabric content is beyond whether it's a generic polyester or a mix or a natural based fibre. So it's a mammoth task. So what I'm tempted to do, I need to strategize how I do that, because at the same time I'm also going to be going through and doing generalized vintage destashing and sorting out, and having a big cull, because if I am forced into moving this year, which I really don't even want to discuss or break down at this point, it is something that I have to bear in mind. What am I prepared to move with? And that is very much a discussion for nearer the time, once I've assessed my savings, etc., and how I am doing there. Yeah, just one big thing at a time at the minute, and I can't be dealing with too many big things. One other thing as well that I'm going to be looking at in 2025 is actually doing Christmas slightly differently. I have always, and that's kind of the discussion really about today's video, how do you do Christmas? How have you changed Christmas over the years? I've always bought throughout the year, and that has made tracking my Christmas spending quite difficult, because if I'm buying something in March or April, I'm not necessarily keeping track, and that's partly on me, of realistically how much I'm spending. It also means as well that you do run the risk of picking up a couple of what I affectionately call dud items, where you think that something really suits a person, you purchased it, and then 2 or 3 months later you hear them talking how much they really dislike said theme or said thing just in conversation, or you try and prompt certain things and then you go, oh no. And that in itself can cause a double cost to things. One thing I did differently in 2024 was I embarked on a book challenge with my sister, and we saw this on Instagram. Now, we're not Instagram trend people, but we both were intrigued by this and we thought we would try it. And if you've been around here for a while, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. We embarked on a book challenge. We gave each other a budget of 30 English pounds and we went and gave each other a list. There were more books on the list than you could get for your money. You had to buy second hand and you had to be ready for Christmas. And the winner would be the person who gets the most amount of books. And you could guess I do this for DVDs or for CDs or vinyl or any other physical media. The winner would be the person who would get the most amount of items off the list for the money for your budget in question. And that was really, really fun because I was forced into really thinking outside the box. I got things from Vinted. I got things from charity shops. I got things from car boot sales. I traded from people I knew who had a book that they were getting rid of. And I was like, right, I'll get you a Terry's Chocolate Orange if you sell me the book. And I looked on Facebook Marketplace, looked in local recycling centres who recycle books and things for the paper, and then they try and sell them before they go through the recycling phase. I asked people to be on the lookout for me. It was like a treasure hunt and a scavenger hunt, and I loved it. And I got 19 books for my £30. I don't yet know how many she's got. We will do the exchange on Christmas Day. But even just going through and looking for them and deciding what different covers and things you wanted, it was a really fun thing to do. And as Christmas is something I like to get done early, and I like to get it done early because it stresses me out. I should clarify. Christmas shopping in December stresses me out. I have never been able to afford to, and still can't really afford to, put everything on that last payday, that payday before Christmas, or that last 2 paydays before Christmas, because I have my brother and sister's birthdays in November. So my October payday or my September and October payday tends to go towards that. And then we're into November, and then in the case of my employer, we're not getting paid before Christmas. So it would then all have to be weighted on one income. Well, at the minute, that income is having to navigate a 6-week month. And certainly in the past, given that I'm now earning the most consistently that I've ever earned, it's now also not, I can't do it. And not to a level that I want to do it as well. And that's something I really need to clarify is I like to make sure that the gifts I purchase for people are considered, they're wrapped well. They may not cost a lot of money. Everyone has the same amount that I spend on them, be it 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. But I like to make sure that the same value overall is there for each person, and that the things I've got for that person are considered and thought of with them in mind, and they're wrapped with care and they're picked with care. And that is in the past because I just could not afford to do Christmas at all. And now that I'm earning, it's kind of like, I still can't afford to do it either, really. And that is because of the time that I'm in currently. That's absolutely fine. But I do have to kind of acknowledge that that's what's going on. I also keep my purchasing list very, very small. I buy for immediate family, mum, dad, brother and sister, and remaining set of grandparents. And sometimes, like this year, we'll all go, all the grandchildren, me, my brother and sister. There are other grandchildren, but we keep to our own little unit. We'll either all go in together on a present for them, or we'll do something separately, which is what we did last year. We've all gone in this year. I buy something for my neighbour and her son, and again, that's nothing more than a £10 spend on him because he's just a teenage boy and doesn't want a lot apart from Xbox vouchers, and a little something for her because she's a single mum. So I try and get her, not spend a lot, but try and get her things like, that will give her a little bit of me time. And that can also include, in the past, I've gifted her like a babysitting voucher with a bottle of wine and some chocolates so she can go round another friend's and have an evening out. This was when he was a lot younger than he is now. Or it can also be like, I'll pay for your membership and we'll go for a day out at like or I'll pay for your ticket and we'll go for like a day out at like a National Trust, or we'll go for a coffee together. So I try and make sure things like that are really considered with the people in mind. I do either a Secret Santa, if there is a Secret Santa, which is normally capped at around £10, or I will do a like we all put in £5 for like a little mystery present game this year, so that was £5. Typically there is some spend on decorations, mainly because I don't go for a completely new colour theme every year, but what I might do is throughout the year I'll lose or I'll break some, particularly as the garage is not the most secure place for me to store things. And the garage is the garage is a perpetual mess. But I might replace and I might get the odd thing. I might swap out the tinsel for a garland. And to be fair, my lights I've not needed to replace for 3 years. So I don't tend to go all out on decorations, but I might get 1 or 2 bits and add them to my core things. What else do I do? Christmas meal, I in the past haven't gone to the Christmas meal for work. Obviously this year I have, and that was a grand total of £45, including the little £5 present money. So £40 for the meal with a £15 deposit paid in September and a £25 balance paid in November as well. And then in terms of things I do for, which is obviously a new thing for my students, is we have a little end of term like form group Christmas party, and I'll get like a celebrations tub, or we're not free, so we'll get like a heroes tub and some chocolate coins and things, and no one gets anything specific. I don't do cards for them. All of my Christmas cards and Christmas wrapping paper, I go in the January sales and I buy it when it's like half price, which means that I have obviously an excess of those things, but I have options that I can rotate round. And if I end up with too much, I sold some at the car boot sale this year and actually made my money back. All of those things that I do, in short, basically means that I don't overdo Christmas. However, it's quite hard for me to track my Christmas spending, and I'm toying with the idea of, can I remember with a rough working out what I've spent on Christmas this year in order to do a what I've spent on Christmas video, and I genuinely don't know if I can, mainly because some presents I bought back in like February in the case of my dad. Some presents I've bought this week, and that really has kind of brought it down to the last minute. And you will know, if you've been following me on my 6-week journey, that I am hand making some Christmas things because I haven't got the money for it, and that is taking time this week. It is taking and then the things that I can't avoid purchasing, because I'm stubbornly sticking to this is what I'm getting for you because it's brilliant and it's wonderful, if I do say so myself. That's caused a stress, because it's like, I can't really do this. I've got so many other things I need to pay for, but I literally have put it down to the wire, the week before Christmas, to get this sorted. I've held off as long as I can before committing to doing this, and I've looked for other ways so that I don't have to commit to doing it. And in this small occasion, it's not been possible. So all of those things have contributed to me wanting to do Christmas slightly differently. I'm fairly sure that I know the people that I buy Christmas presents for now well enough to take a punt on buying for them throughout the year. A large issue is that with my brother and sister's birthdays being at the beginning of November, they don't even think about what they want for Christmas. They don't give any hints or suggestions until like halfway through November, and mum and dad aren't even thinking about it until then because they've got birthdays to get through. And that is, for me, really annoying, because it means that those two main people that I spend money on, I'm often left waiting. But I'm not going to do that in 2025. I'm going to try and do my 2025 from a second-hand perspective. I want to look for presents that are sourced from places like Vintage or car boot sales or charity shops. I want to look and try and see if I can do it a little bit more sustainably and see what I can get for my money, because I think the maximum I've spent on a Christmas present is normally around £50 is the maximum, and the exception last year was my sister and I went in together to get some pink concert tickets for my mum, which is something we always said we would do. So my share of her ticket, including all of the booking fees and insurance and stuff like that, which we had to have, was £75. That was the maximum that I've ever spent, and that was an exceptional case. Normally, an expensive year for me for Christmas presents is £50 per person. I tend to float between 30 and 40, and that's because in the past I've been able to get what I wanted to get for that money. Obviously, the cost of things are going up. You don't need to be, new to the budgeting community to know that that is the case. Things are getting pricey, and your money in terms of what you can get isn't going as far. And I mentioned that because I was reflecting earlier and I was thinking about how we used to do it when we were kids. And a part of me kind of wishes that what I'm about to say I could introduce and bring to secondary schools, 11 to 16 provision. When we were in primary, and if you're in the UK and maybe you do something like this similar, if you're abroad, let me know down below, you would have the Christmas fair. And our primary is ages 4 to 11. You'd have the Christmas fair. You would come in with nothing more than, back then it was £5, and there'd be lots of little stalls, and it would be like the local WI, and it would be like the local Rotary Club, there'd be some form of crafter, there'd be everyone kind of like parents who made cards and things. Just the school community would run a Christmas fair in the school hall, and you'd pay like your 50p entry, and you would have your £5 spending money, and the prices would range from like 10p to £2 for an expensive item, and you could shop. Literally, I got my mum, dad, brother and sister and grandparents, and there were a lot more grandparents, and there were great grandparents back then as well, for £5. And it was little things like a pencil pack or a funny rubber or some like horrendously like perfumed bath bomb, but or like little packs of sweets and things. But then we would go back to the classroom, we would print using potato block printing some Christmas shapes onto some A3 paper, which would be our wrapping paper, and then we would wrap them up, and then we would make the cards like the next week. And that was it. That was Christmas done for like a £5 all the way up until I was in secondary school. And then mum would kind of take us and we would go Christmas shopping. So if we didn't have our own pocket money, I think my grandparents used to give me pocket money for Christmas spending. And it would be like £10, and that would be £5 for my brother and £5 for my sister. And then my other grandparents would give me £10, and that would be like £5 for mum and £5 for dad. And then mum and dad would give me like whatever the equivalent of £5 was for each set of grandparents, and we'd go. And you used to get things for your money. And I mean, like for my sister, it would be like super cheap drugstore, super drug boots, like awful for you like now, knowing what I know, like lipstick sets. And for my brother it would be like little fake Lego sets or little building blocks or like toy dinosaurs, because there is an age gap there. And mum would get like a notebook and a fluffy pen, and dad would get some gardening gloves. And I kind of wish that Christmas fair aspect would come into secondary schools again, because I think it would give kids that are craftily minded the opportunity to do that kind of bit of service and have that bit of experience. It would give parents and teachers who are craftily minded the opportunity to sell their wares. It would be a really good thing for the school community, but I just don't think that the priority would run it. And even if you charged people like an entry and used it as a fundraising activity for the school, I just don't think it would run. But that whole being able to get things, because Christmas markets and Christmas fairs are lovely, and I would like to be able to, with next year, and I say this as someone who is not future planning, I'd like to be able to go ahead and do, like the Christmas lights thing my mum paid for was lovely, but it was, she paid for it, she wanted to do it because we were all a bit down in the dumps for various reasons. We're all really stressed. None of us are feeling quote unquote Christmassy, and there is a pressure to feel Christmassy, but she wanted to do that for us because we've just had a year where we've all been here, there and everywhere, and it was lovely, but oh my gosh, it was expensive. And there are so many of them in my area because we have a lot of historic houses, places like that. that can accommodate that, and you could go 5 years in a row and go to a different one. And I want to be able to do things like that and have them in my budget. I want to be able to go to a Christmas market if I want to go to a Christmas market and eat all of the food, because the food is amazing, but again, pricey. So there are things that I've not done for Christmas so far, which I'd really like to. And my hope is that as well, if I can go down the secondhand route, not only is it a little bit more sustainable, it also potentially gives me the opportunity to find a bit more for my money, because while I'm stubbornly sticking to the same value, let's just say for ease of maths, £50 gets my dad a like main big present and then a couple of little extra ones. In the case of my sister, where the £30 challenge forms part of an overall £50 budget, well, she's going to have at least 19 books to open, plus the extra thing that I've got her for the 20. And I didn't have to do the extra thing, but we knew there would be the book challenge plus a little something else. That's what we agreed. My brother doesn't have 19 books to open. He has 3 things to open. My mum has 8 things to open. And it's one of those things where the value is the same, but it's like, do you then switch and go for, I want to get every person 5 presents? Do I want to get, regardless of the cost, do I want them to open 5 things from me? Do I want them to open something to the value of this? And it is harder buying for people as they get older, and we are unusual in our family in that we have no small children. I don't have children. My brother and sister don't have children. There are no cousins. Well, there's a cousin with 1 small child, but they are the opposite side of the country, and part of the wider extended family. So we don't have small children. We are all adults. We don't even have teenagers. So there's not that glut of buying for small children and getting excited about that. So Christmas and getting excited about Christmas is, you don't get the quote unquote magic of it. And within budgeting as well, there is sense in putting Christmas into a sinking fund. But what if you don't have the money in your budget each month to do that? Because I haven't. Ever. Really. That's why I buy throughout the year. I buy as and when I can afford it, because I like to be done early, because I don't like Christmas shopping in December. I like to be organised. I don't want to be thinking about it. I just want to get through it. So if you haven't got the money for it to put in your budget each month, are you then going to put a savings challenge towards it? Okay, so I'm going to work on a small change savings challenge, or I'm going to do a £5 challenge just here and there. But what if there's an emergency or an issue pops up and I don't have an emergency fund? And that is why Christmas is going to be one of the things that I save for, as part of my whole possibly hoarding cash mentality for the first quarter of 2025. And I think I am going to break 2025 into quarters. And each quarter have a very, very specific focus. That may mean that some people may be sitting there and going, but I wouldn't do it that way, and that's fine. But I've not liked the stress of Christmas as late as I have left it. I don't feel very organised. I don't feel Christmassy. Yes, it's done, but it's been something which has been on the back of my mind when it shouldn't be. This is also not me saying as well either that everything I sell on Vinted or sell online is going to go towards that, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to buy throughout the year as and when I see things, because if I am going down the second-hand route, it will be a case of as and when I see things, or whether I go and try and save it all up and then start purchasing or not. There is a time aspect to it as well, with me being like just me and having to look after everything. But that does bring to a close our talk about Christmas. Our little coffee table, crafting table chat. And hopefully the squeaking hasn't been too bad. But this is just me doing a really casual, general video that's not me stressing over the 6-week pay period and not me diving into forward planning. It's me just, spitballing and having a general discussion with you. And hopefully I've kept you company during a task that you need a bit of company for if you're by yourself. And you've also had a little bit of a sneak peek at some new things which will be coming. And I'm being, very proper, and I've actually kind of putting together a calendar of when do I want things to launch by. And I'm organising this properly because I want to do this properly if I do this. And I think that is also the driver behind clearing out the fabric. It's saying goodbye to something which served me well, but I will not have the time to enjoy anymore, which is heartbreaking. So we're probably going to go down that route, but that is definitely a video for another time. I am going to love you and leave you as I finish off that last strip. I am going to see you later on for Budgetmas 15, which will be a completely different type of video. A lot of these are completely different types of videos, and it just gives me the chance to try and see how things go. I hope you have a fantastic budgeting week wherever you are in the world. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you do for Christmas? How do you manage it? How do you sort it? What do you think about the prices of things versus what you can get now, and how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you're getting enough for your money or not? I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye for now.